Hello there, peoples, and welcome back to the Servants of the Dice Gods continued look at the Summer 2019 points update for X-Wing. Anthony here again, and I promise there's going to be more people on the channel, but that's irrelevant to the topic at hand. Today, we are looking at all these Scum changes that came out of this most recent update for X-Wing, and before we begin, I want to bring something up. So, if you watch the Rebel and Imperial points change videos, you'll know that this video format is slightly different than those. And if it looks familiar to you, that's because it is a very similar layout to what Ross over at PTCG Radio and Wassy Plays does for his videos, or at least most of his videos. Now, I'm borrowing this format just because it's an effective way to talk about games involving multiple cards like X-Wing, or in Ross's case, Pokemon, Transformers, Final Fantasy TCG, or Keyforge. So, I mean, yes, it is kind of ripping him off, but it is an effective way to do things, so that's why I don't feel bad about it. But if you play any of those games I just mentioned, I absolutely recommend going to check them out. For Pokemon players, go check out PTCG Radio, and for all the other games, go check out Wassy Plays. He produces some fantastic stuff, and he's actually the reason I started a Transformers TCG website called Cybertron Daily, if any of you are interested in that. But most of you who are here probably only care about X-Wing, so enough of that blabber. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I can speak. Let's get down to that and start looking at all the changes that Scum received, starting with all 4 upgrades that saw changes. So as I just mentioned, only 4 upgrades saw changes. 1 Astral Mech, 1 Title, and 2 Crew. So starting with the Astral Mech of the group, we have R5TK, which went down from 1 point to 0. Okay, they say you can't polish a turd, and this is very much the case with this card. I still cannot wrap my head around why this exists. Now, being able to lock friendly ships, I understand with M9G8, assuming his first edition effect came into second edition, but why would you want to attack your own ships? That makes no sense. Even if you had an ability that when you get attacked, you do something like... In fact, I don't even think Scum even has any of those, so I'm not too sure why this even exists if the faction that it can be used with doesn't even have those effects. So if you can somehow explain to me why he exists, by all means do it, because I am still very confused. Just every time I try to think about why this would be good, my brain ends up hurting by the end of it, and it's never a fun time. So... moving on from that turd, we have the Shadowcaster title, which is going down by 3 points from 6 to 3. Very much a needed change. I don't think it was seeing too much play with the limited play the Lancer was seeing, but now maybe Ketsu starts seeing some play, but I think the Lancer is still a little bit too expensive, albeit I'm actually going to look that up here quickly. But, again, with this going down, it might be more viable to start pairing it on a Lancer. Now, I have a list here with everything, but it seems to have gone missing. Aha, here it is. So, Ketsu is, this thing is still a little overpriced. Maybe if they dropped Ketsu down a few points, I wouldn't mind. But at the moment, even with its drop, which we will talk about later for a couple of its pilots, still kind of not worth it. As for the 2 crew, IG-88D and Maul went down. So starting with IG, he went down from 4 to 3. And honestly, this is kind of a two-sided opinion. So on the one hand, if you've ever flown a Brobots list in either 1st or 2nd edition, you know that you're only flying 2 ships. And because of that, you really don't care about point values to an extent. So in that regard, if you're flying IGD on a ship that can take a crew and flying it with an aggressor with a different IG, I don't really care about the point change. But if you're trying to fly a 3-wide IG build, so like IG A and B in the aggressor with limited upgrades, and then IG D on something like a fire spray, then I can understand the point drop just so you could possibly fit another thing in. But it's probably not gonna make 3-wide IG builds play anytime soon. Maybe it'll help with 2-wide IG builds, but I mean, it's okay. Again, points decreases are always nice, but this one I'm kind of indifferent to. Same with, actually no, Maul is going up a point from 11 to 12, and this one I think has something to do with the fact that some Force users in Scum, I think, actually, no, take that back. Asajj might be the only one. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But after you suffer damage, you may gain a stress token to recover a force charge. Yeah, I'm not too sure why this went up, so this is actually something I am genuinely confused on, why it went up. So if you can explain to me why this went up, be my guest in the comments. I know this is kind of unprofessional asking for you to explain things to me, but this is one I'm genuinely confused on, because 11's already a pretty hefty cost for it, and it going up one is actually a pretty big deal. So yeah, I'm not too sure about this one, but moving on from that small posse, we then move over to all the ships that didn't see changes. And in terms of that, quite a few ships didn't see changes. So, like with the Imperial analysis, I'll run through that list and let you know if anything stands out in particular. So, starting off, the customized YT-1300 didn't see any changes. Really didn't need to. It was seeing on and off play, just the right amount, so good there. Escapecraft, that really didn't need to see any changes because it was already a pretty good ship as a cheap coordinating platform with TAC Officer, and since TAC Officer did go up in points, there was really no reason to bring up the Escapecraft, so that's perfect where it is. Fang Fighter is staying where it is. Now, Fen and Old Tarak, I agree with keeping them where they are, but all the other pilots I think could have gone down a couple of points. The generics especially could have gone down by 3 points. The other two uniques, Cad and Joy, maybe could have gone down to 52 and 50 respectively. But perhaps FFG saw something about him that made him think that they should keep him there. That one, I'm not sure why they kept him there, but they kept him there, so that's interesting. The G1A didn't see any changes. Honestly, I would have liked to see them go down by like 2 points maybe. They hadn't really been seeing too much play at all, none of them, so I mean, I saw Zuckuss once in a really weird list, but ever since then I haven't seen him, so there's that. Let's see, all those saw changes. We'll get to those later. The M3A Interceptor didn't see any changes. Maybe this one could have gone down a point or two, because these are seeing no play whatsoever, and I honestly think they should, because one of my favorite Scum lists right now, it actually includes Leighton Ashera, which is that one that if she's involved in an attack that misses, she gets an evade token. Her and Juke is actually a pretty fun combo, so maybe them going down could have been good for the game, but perhaps FFG is just waiting out on this one, because with a few other things changing, having this as a swarm ship could have made an impact. So this one I kind of understand why they're maybe not changing it right now, or why they didn't change it right now, because the changes already happened, but we'll see. Speaking of swarm ships that haven't seen changes, the Mining Guild TIE hasn't seen any changes, so that one I think maybe it could have gone down a point, but considering it's arguably better than a standard Imperial TIE, makes sense where it is. Quad Jumper didn't see any changes, no comment there. That definitely saw changes. And then finally, the Z95 didn't see any changes. Similar to the Mining Guild TIE, it's kind of like the Scum equivalent of a TIE fighter, so it was pretty good where it is. Maybe the uniques could have been dropped a point, but we'll see what happens on that front. So that's all the ships that didn't see changes. So now, like usual, we move over to the ships that did see changes. So we'll start off here with the Aggressor. All of these are going down except for IGA, who is staying at his 68. Makes sense. This is easily the most popular of all the Aggressor pilots, so nothing really special there. IGB going down. I mean, it's nice, but I don't really understand the necessity for it since he was the best Aggressor pilot behind IGA. So again, it's nice, but was it really necessary? Probably not. IGC, this is one of the two that didn't really see too much play, and you can figure out who the other one is based off what I just said about IGB. And again, him going down a point definitely helps. Could open up another option in terms of what you put on him, but we'll see how things pan out. I'm not sure this change will allow aggressors to see play, but we'll see what happens. And then IGD, again, easily the least played of the aggressors, not as popular as A and B. So seeing him go down a point is nice, but I don't think D will see play just because how often do you want to turn a Segner's Loop into a modified Talon roll? So, I mean, it's okay, but again, FFG's going down in slow increments so they don't accidentally break the game, unless there's like an effect that is extremely powerful and is like the only viable thing in a faction. So, in terms of the specific numbers for the aggressors, B went down, from 65 to 64. D went down by the same amount, and C went down from 66 to 65. Speaking of effects that pretty much cause one list to become the only viable list in a faction, we move to the Y-Wing, and all of them are staying the same except for Drea, who is going up from 42 to 49. So it was a pretty significant jump there. But apparently, from what I've heard, a Drea plus a mini swarm, or a full swarm, was the best list in Scum. So seeing this go up definitely breaks up the combo, hopefully allows other Scum things to show up, because honestly, Scum is my second favorite faction behind Imperials, so I would like to see more variety in it, just because Scum has so many cool things. Like, I'm not even going to go into it here just because I know you don't care, but it's such a cool faction, and it's a shame that only one list was seeing play, so now that they fixed Drea, hopefully more things see play. And then moving over to our next ship, we have the Fire Spray 31, and all of these are going down. So I'm going to quickly run through the list here. Boba is going down from 68 to 65. At 86 to 85. Yeah, I can totally read my list. So, Boba, definitely he needed to stay at a higher price, but considering that for a while he was overused, and in the January 2019 update they did actually raise his points cost, and they must have thought, that we raised him too much, let's drop him back down a little bit. But again, they're bringing him down in slow increments, so makes sense there. Iman Asmin's going from 76 to 74, and that time I actually read it right. And this I like because it opens up room for an extra bomb on him, since generally you do want to be dropping devices with him. Then Kath Scarlet from 74 to 72 opens up possible room for another ship, considering that her ability relies on a swarm similar to Drea, but possibly too expensive, considering like you're paying 70 something points for a core ship, and then you have to spend 100 something points on smaller ships. But if you fly enough Z95s and modified tile fighters, you can get away with it. Koshka Frost is going down from 71 to 70. This one I'm not too sure about because there aren't too many stress dealing effects in the game right now, except for maybe like 000. Actually, let me take a look here at that. Give me a moment. Where is he? There he is. Yeah, 000 is a interesting Scum dealing effect, but that's really the only one that comes to mind, and as such, I don't really think Koshka is going to see any play. Crassus Tralix went down from 70 to 68. Definitely makes it a bit of a cheaper weapons platform, since really you want to fire off as many missiles and torpedoes if you take Slave 1 with him as you can. And I mean, it's an interesting pilot, but it's probably not going to see play just because he might be a little too expensive for what he offers. And then finally, the Bounty Hunter, the generic, went from 66 to 64. It opens up room for a couple more options just to make it a bit more powerful, but unless you're just looking for a heavy mid-range ship to fill out your list, probably not going to see any play. So then we move over to the Hawk 290, and all of these are going down except for Palab, who is staying where he is. And this makes sense. He was really the only Hawk pilot that was seeing play consistently, so fair enough they would keep him where he is. As for the others, Torquil's going down from 38 to 37. I mean, it's okay, but there's not really too many upgrades that help his ability, except maybe Agile Gunner, but I don't even think the Hawk has a gunner slot. So honestly, probably not going to help him at all. Dace Bonearm, 35 to 34. Not too sure, because you really need an Ion Swarm in order to take advantage of his effect, but even then you only get to fire it off once every 3 turns, and sometimes it backfires horribly on you if you fire at the wrong ship, so he's not going to see any play. And then the generic PS1 Spice Runner, 32 to 31. I mean, it's a generic Hawk. It's not really that good. So that's the Hawk. And then moving over to the Jumpmaster, everything here is going down except for Manaroo, who's staying where she is at 47, excuse me. And then for the changes, Dengar's going from 58 to 56, Teltravura, from 50 to 48, and the Contracted Scout from 46 to 44. Now, the points drop is nice, but the ship is still just way, way too clunky to fly. Its upgrade variety doesn't really help it, at least from what I've tested, and it's just... it's too expensive for what it offers. Its title is too expensive, which is really the only thing that helps it, and even then it's not by too much. So honestly, they need to drop the points more. Now, I understand why, again, they're doing this in slow increments, because Jumpmasters were notorious in first edition for just being ridiculously cheap for what they offered. So it makes sense FFG is keeping them higher costed, but if they just need to keep dropping it down until we find a level that hopefully allows them to see play, because it's a cool ship. It's just what it offers in the game. It's just not worth it. And then moving over to the Karaz Fighter, or the K-Fighter, or whatever you want to call this thing. This thing saw a ton of changes. Every pilot except Talonbane is seeing changes. Plus, it lost its third mod slot and gained a second illicit slot. So we'll go over that in a minute, but starting with the points changes. Again, Talonbane's not really seeing any changes. Didn't need to. He's already a good pilot. He just doesn't see a whole lot of play. Victor went down from 45 to 44. I mean, it's okay, but it's really hard to only roll something other than 2 defense dice, at least in the way the game is right now. So, I mean, it's nice to see, but I'm honestly not too big on it. Graz going down from 47 to 46, not too big on this either. Now, if you went down further, I'd say, oh, look, you have more room to put Outmaneuver on him, because him and Outmaneuver is actually a fun combo. But at his current price point, he's not worth it either. Captain Justero going down from 43 to 42. Not big on this one either, because he relies on non-combat damage so much. You need to have a lot of ships that can fire off bombs or other stuff like that, and not big on that either. Black Sun Ace going down from 42 to 41. Possibly a bit too expensive still for what it offers on a PS3 in generic, but that one has yet to be seen. And then the Cartel Marauder going down from 40 to 38. Now, I believe that this is sort of like the Scum version of an X-Wing, except it doesn't have the S-foil configuration, so it probably should be cheaper than an X-Wing, just because it doesn't have that versatility. And yeah, now they're starting to drop these things, that way they're cheaper than X-Wings, which is actually great. And a PS2, 38 points with the missile slot, 2 illicits, 2 mods. You could do some interesting things with it. So I'm actually in favor of this, and I might actually try to run a pair of Karazes at PS2 with some stuff and see how that works. So I like the change. Will it help? I don't know. Then moving forward, we have the Lancer. I almost forgot what it was called there. And Ketsu is staying where she is. Makes sense, because I think she was the most popular, or second most popular, of the 4 pilots. And giving out tractor tokens like she does is actually a pretty potent effect, so that should have a price to it. But then Asajj went down from 76 to 74, probably to open up just more options on her, just because she really needs that support in order to be able to do stuff with her ability. Sabine went down from 64 to 62. I mean, it's okay, but unless you have a mod that allows you to add focus or modify focus results, not really going to help you too much. And then the Shadowport Hunter from 60 to 58. And it's still a little too expensive for what it offers. If it was at 54 points, maybe I'd be making an argument for it. But right now, not really too good of a change there. So, yeah, that's the Lancer. So, moving on then, we have the Kimagilla up next, and all of these are going down. So, the Cartel Executioner is going down from 44 to 43. I mean, it's okay, but this is a ship that really relies on having a a lot of upgrades in order to fire off dead to rights as frequently as it can, so not really a fan of that. Dallin is going down from 48 to 46. Now, I understand why his ability is a non-recurring charge, and that's something I've always disliked about him, but I don't want to be paying like nearly a quarter of my list for one ship that won't even get to fire off its ability all the time. So that is, or when I say all the time, I mean only once or twice at the maximum, no matter what. So that I don't like. I wish he would go down a bit more. Tarani going down by only 2 I like because she definitely is the best of the 3 pilots. And honestly, the only thing I could say about this is it opens up a bit more room for putting expert handling on her, which I found to be helpful for triggering both dead to rights and her ability. So that change I do like. Up next, we have the Skurg, and the only thing here that's changing is the Lock Revenant. The generic is going up from 43 to 45. My guess is that this change was made to better bring it in line with the uniques, but the problem I have with this is that the uniques were really the only ones seeing any play, and even then it was only Nim seeing play. So unless I am absolutely just blind to the fact that the Lock Revenants were seeing play, which I don't think I am here, not understanding why this change happened. So not much to say there, but when only one thing changes, there's not much to say at all for any ship. Then moving on, we move over to the Star Viper, and the only pilot here to see a change was Guri, who went up from 43 to 63 to 64, excuse me. And this one I'm actually not too mad about. I mean, Guri was one of the pilots that I flew the most for Scum, but her going up by 1 point honestly hasn't hurt the list that I fly her in, and her ability does inherit possibly a higher price point, but I'm glad they didn't change it by too much. She's still right at the level where she needs to be, and it honestly isn't hurting too much in terms of what I fly with Guri. Now, other people, that could be completely different, but this change, not too mad about. And then finally, yes, we're finally done here. So the YV666, all of these pilots went down. So Bosk went down from 66, excuse me, to 64. Moralo eval from 70 to 68. And then Lots went down from 61 to 59, excuse me, and the Transition Slaver from 56 to 54. Now, the Slaver, really the only use you ever had for it was the party bus, and I think that was starting to not see as much play because of the transition to 2nd edition, and even now you don't see it very often. So, I mean, it dropping by 2 points is nice, but it's probably not going to help too much. Lots, her going down a bit, I mean, it is helpful, but Tractor Token should still have a price point, so it makes sense why they didn't decrease it too much. Moralo, the ability to not fly off the board twice per game is amazing, and that definitely should keep its price point, but having it drop a little bit does help a little bit. And Bosk, I mean, it's Bosk. His ability is okay, just to add extra results, but you're taking away a crit, which sometimes can be the difference between a win or a loss, and it's just situational at best. So him going down is nice, but I'm not sure it'll help the ship. So yeah, that is everything in Scum that saw changes. That we have 3 of the factions covered and 4 more to go, as well as all the generic upgrades that saw changes. So because those have so few things to talk about, I'm going to be merging them with each other for the sake of having a longer video. So yeah, be on the lookout for those, and hopefully you enjoyed what you saw here today. Peace out.